Harley's in crisis mode, and after months of dead silence, the CEO finally decided to talk. Sales are tanking, riders are furious, and the brand looks totally lost. But is this a real comeback plan, or just another boardroom stunt to calm the chaos? What's next might just break everything. Harley CEO Zeitz popped out with a statement, said they'd be pulling back from all the corporate activism stuff, and claimed they were going back to traditional roots. He even mentioned ditching some of the DEI initiatives and sustainability campaigns. Like that was supposed to convince everyone Harley hadn't already gone off the rails. The goal? Make it sound like they were listening, that they cared, that Harley wasn't trying to become Tesla with a gas tank. But guess what? Nobody bought it. Not the riders, not the investors, not even the dealers choking on unsold inventory. Because let's be real, if this wasn't about damage control, then what was it? It definitely wasn't a brave new direction. It was more like, let's panic just enough to calm the shareholders without actually changing anything. And while Zeitz was trying to patch things up with corporate-approved language, the backlash just kept getting louder. On social media, hashtags like #boycott Harley and #Harley sellout started gaining serious traction. You had guys who'd been riding Harleys for 30 years posting videos saying they were done. Riders weren't just annoyed, they were furious, and they weren't being subtle about it. Now, the internet outrage was bad enough, but the real-world fallout, even worse. Harley dealerships across the US started looking like abandoned shopping malls. Once busy showrooms, empty, crickets. Sales guys pacing around pretending to rearrange jackets no one was buying. Inventory was piling up, and that so-called brand loyalty Harley had leaned on for decades, it started vanishing, fast. Dealers had no choice but to cut prices like mad just to move bikes. We're talking deep discounts, and these aren't third-party resellers we're talking about. These are official Harley showrooms that have been in business for decades, and they were panicking. Longtime dealers were publicly saying they didn't know how much longer they could stay open if things didn't turn around, and they didn't. And the riders? They called out Harley's bluff real quick. Zeitz's big talk about returning to the core values didn't hold up, because guess what? Harley was still pushing electric bikes, still making investor-friendly moves, still building stuff for Wall Street, not Main Street. Riders could see straight through it. You don't get to spend years chasing ESG scores and electric motorcycle trends, then suddenly throw on a leather vest and say, "We're one of you again." That's not how trust works, and clearly, Harley had burned theirs to the ground. So what did riders do? They left. And not just quietly. They left loudly. They started test riding other brands. And you know which name came up again and again? Indian Motorcycles. That's right. Harley's longtime rival, the brand that most people thought would never truly catch up, suddenly became the one with the real edge. Because while Harley was off trying to look like the motorcycle version of a Silicon Valley startup, Indian kept it real. They built cruisers that still felt like cruisers. They stuck to their aesthetic, and riders noticed. And while all this brand drama was playing out in public, behind the scenes, Harley's numbers were crumbling. From late 2023 through early 2024, Harley stock started tanking. Fast. Investor confidence took a nosedive. Every earnings report that dropped just added more fuel to the dumpster fire. Revenue missed expectations. Market share in the US kept shrinking. It was like watching a heavyweight champ trip over their own shoelaces, and the crowd wasn't cheering, they were walking out. And the consequences weren't just digital. This wasn't just Twitter rage and sad earnings calls. Real people were losing jobs. Harley started laying off factory workers. Some entire towns that depended on Harley's manufacturing operations were left scrambling. The ripple effect was brutal. Small towns that had built economies around Harley plants, suddenly facing job losses, shutdowns, and economic anxiety. Local shops, mechanics, biker bars, they all felt it. And here's the wildest part. Instead of pulling back, learning from Livewire's epic failure, and focusing on what used to work, Harley did the exact opposite. They doubled down on electric motorcycles. They poured even more money into EV development, even though Livewire had already flopped. That bike was supposed to be a game changer. Instead, it was a $30,000 reminder of how far Harley had strayed from what riders actually wanted. While Harley was busy trying to make electric cool, brands like Indian were out there delivering what people asked for, and they weren't the only ones. Triumph and Royal Enfield started pulling in ex-Harley fans by the thousands. Indian's Power Plus and Thunderstroke engines offered that same low-end grunt and throttle feel without all the Harley baggage. Riders got what they wanted: classic muscle with modern reliability. No lectures, no fluff, just bikes. And that's where Harley completely missed the mark. They weren't just losing riders, they were losing the plot. People didn't stop riding, they just stopped riding Harleys. They wanted what Harley used to stand for. And the second another brand came close enough to offer that, without the politics, without the boardroom posturing, they jumped ship, fast. Jochen Seitz can hold a press conference, say all the right words, and quote whatever brand slogans are left in the playbook. But when you look at the sales, the dealerships, the layoffs, and the loyalists heading for the exits, you tell me if it sounds like Harley's back on track. Let's talk about the identity crisis, because if Harley had a soul, it definitely misplaced it somewhere between Wall Street and Silicon Valley. What used to be the symbol of rebellion, the bike for the rough-around-the-edges outlaw who didn't want rules, just the road, has now become a PowerPoint presentation in a corporate conference room. That's the vibe now. Riders who used to wear Harley like a badge of honor now feel like they're buying into a quarterly earnings call instead of a lifestyle. And it shows. The whole brand got hijacked by ESG buzzwords and executive-approved sustainability goals. Suddenly, Harley wasn't about horsepower and highway freedom. It was about carbon offsets, clean tech, and performance metrics that didn't involve throttle. Green initiatives took over the roadmap. Loud pipes and chrome tanks were replaced with corporate jargon and greenwashing. They didn't just tweak the brand, they gutted it and stuffed it with battery packs. Now, the Livewire was supposed to be the big game changer, right? But let's not forget, they spun that thing off into a completely separate company by 2023. That's how committed they were to making Harley future-focused. And yet, nobody asked for it. The demand was basically zero. Riders didn't want to hear about eco-conscious torque C curves. They wanted the rumble, the weight, the raw metal in your hands feel. And Livewire had none of it. Just a silent motor, a massive price tag, and a full identity crisis baked into the frame. Let's talk about that price tag. Livewire launched at nearly $30,000. For what? A bike that didn't sound like a Harley, didn't ride like a Harley, didn't feel like a Harley. It looked like something built for a concept art gallery, not for Sunday rides and parking lot burnouts. Everything people loved about Harley, the weight, the noise, the unmistakable look and attitude, was stripped away. What was left? A logo. That's it. Just branding pasted on a machine that no one recognized. And here's the worst part. This wasn't innovation. It was alienation. The riders who kept this brand alive for decades felt completely cut out. Guys who rode across states, wrenched on their bikes in garages, and passed Harleys down like heirlooms. They were now being asked to buy something that had nothing in common with what they loved. Meanwhile, the younger riders Harley was supposedly targeting? Yeah, they didn't show up either. Because let's face it, no 20-something is dropping 30 grand on an electric bike that can't even sound cool at a stoplight. While Harley was trying to find itself, everyone else figured out exactly who they were. Indian motorcycles didn't just sneak up on Harley, They charged in with full force. After Polaris brought Indian back in 2011, it was game on. They stuck to the formula that worked: heritage looks, updated engineering. The Chief, the Challenger. These bikes started pulling Harley riders away, one by one. It wasn't just a product shift, it was a loyalty shift. Riders didn't feel like they were betraying Harley. They felt like Harley had already left them, and Indian wasn't alone. Honda was out there doing what Honda always does, building smart bikes that actually make sense. The Rebel series starts around $6,800 and gives riders something simple, good-looking, and ridiculously reliable. Then there's the Gold Wing. Harley couldn't even touch it in the touring game. And Honda's CB lineup, clean tech, excellent price points, zero drama. While Harley was busy rebranding their soul, Honda was quietly building bikes that people actually wanted to ride. Royal Enfield also slid into the conversation with the Interceptor 650 and Meteor 350. These bikes offered classic design without the corporate baggage, and both are priced under $7,000. Yeah, that's not a typo. You could buy 4 of those for the price of one Livewire. That's what riders are looking at right now. They don't care about investor calls. They care about what they can actually afford. BMW stepped in too with the R18. It's premium, but not absurd. It knows what it is. Same with Triumph. Their Bonneville series brought old-school design and married it with just enough tech to feel fresh, not futuristic. These brands didn't scream, "Look how modern we are." They said, "Let's make something you'll enjoy riding." And that worked. Big time. Meanwhile, Harley's big swing, Livewire, flopped. It missed on every level. It didn't deliver the range. It didn't deliver the experience. It didn't deliver the identity. And riders knew it. Honda, on the other hand, went full practical with the EM1E. Swappable batteries, subtle style, built for cities and short hops. They didn't overhype it, they just made it useful. And somehow, that made it more exciting than anything Harley was pushing. And now, Jochen Zeitz is out, or at least fading into the background. Whether he walked or was shown the door doesn't matter. The fact is, his departure says something loud. It says Harley knows it messed up. It says the panic inside the boardroom is real. When the guy steering the ship steps back while the boat's leaking, it's not exactly a confidence boost. But the damage is more than financial. It's cultural. Harley's core community, the lifeblood of the brand, is fractured. The old-school riders feel thrown out. The new generation hasn't bought in. The middle, gone. There's no solid base anymore. Just tension and confusion. It used to be about brotherhood. Now it's just spreadsheets and PR slogans. And while Harley was trying to juggle identity crises and investor pressure, Indian, Honda, Triumph, and Royal Enfield just kept doing their thing. They didn't need viral marketing campaigns. They didn't need over-the-top press releases. They gave riders what Harley used to offer: good machines with guts and character, reasonable price tags, dependable build quality, real-world performance. Harley's playbook used to be simple: ride free, build tough, stay American. That's it. That was the magic. And they tossed it out for buzzwords and overpriced tech no one asked for. Riders didn't need Harley to reinvent the wheel. They just needed them to keep building the one that worked. And now, as Zeitz steps away, it's not about who comes in next. It's about whether there's even anything left to lead. Harley's not just dealing with a product issue. It's facing an identity collapse. And while everyone's focused on who's taking over the CEO seat, riders are already test riding other brands. That's the real shift happening. If Harley's mess shocked you, hit that subscribe button, because the ride's not over and neither is the fallout.